We are live, baby, and we have breaking news to start the show. On a Wednesday edition of The Slate, the Phoenix Suns have notified star Chris Paul that he will be waived, making the future Hall of Famer one of the top free agents this offseason. League sources tell NBA on TNT. Jeff Ulrich, come on in. I have golf questions for you, but first, Nick Fryer, I'm really happy you're here because you're one of my favorite basketball analysts at DraftKings. My man, Chris Paul plans to play several more years and will look to join a contending team. Moments ago, before I went on live and broke this news worldwide, you kind of gave me the smirk and you were like, yeah, the Celtics make sense. And I said, hot damn, that does kind of make sense. Tell me why it does.
It does because, I mean, you're looking to add a guy who, like, a veteran presence on this team. Like, they need help in the coaching department. And this guy, as much as he's still a player, gives you someone who can kind of serve as a coach in some capacity. I know he's a little bit of a liability on the defensive end, and he's not getting any younger at 38 years old, but I think that he could still contribute in some capacity to a winning team. Now it's just a matter of what kind of role is Chris Paul willing to take? Is he willing to be that first guard off the bench? Is he willing to take on fewer minutes? If he's willing to do that, then I think the Celtics could be a fit. I'm sure there are other teams in the Eastern Conference where it could kind of work out too, but I don't think you're going to get as good of a fit as there. Other than maybe Milwaukee, you could work something out. But again, you're talking about possibly coming off the bench in that situation, and how open is he to doing that? Whereas in Boston, maybe there's a way he could still finagle being a starter.
That's right. Like, his playmaking during key moments wouldn't need him to really score a whole lot. You already have tons of dudes who can do that. Could rest a little bit during the regular season, right, Nick? Because of like depth on this team. I see one person on Twitter kind of points out he could easily do what Lowry has done for the Heat in this postseason.
Yeah, he absolutely could. And I mean, and obviously he's going to bring different things on the floor than Kyle Lowry is. But he also he brings that, like, that voice, that guy who, as much as he hasn't won it before, he's been, he's gone pretty far in the postseason and had his chances. He's gone as close as he can to not winning it. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know how things like, and looking at elsewhere too, as much as Boston seems like the perfect fit if they can make the money add up. I think you look at Philadelphia, you look at Cleveland, and those are teams that Cleveland maybe less so, but Philadelphia could afford a little bit of help from the leadership standpoint in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, Memphis is kind of in a whole, a very, very weird space right now. But again, that is a very young team. So that's another one that makes a lot of sense. If they can get all their important ducks in a row, then you add Chris Paul to the mix. He would absolutely be coming off the bench in that situation, assuming all their key players are still there. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a few options for Chris Paul as long as the money adds up. And but there's a lot of spots that he could take up.
And it doesn't hurt that he's close with Jake from State Farm.
This is also true. That is very helpful. Yes.
Jeff, how are you doing? What have you been up to for like the past day and a half? Is there anything new?
I've literally just been in my pajamas doom scrolling all the live news. I mean, that's it. It's pretty much from Tuesday morning until like right now. I mean, I haven't even prepared. I don't even know who's playing anymore in the tournament.
Dude, this is the least amount of golf that, like, leading up to a tournament with some pretty big names in here. You got Rory even trying to three-peat here. It's the least amount of golf we've talked about in the first 3 days of like the week, in terms of like betting and DFS and that kind of stuff, because the news in the golf world has been ginormous. It's been unexpected. We talked about it yesterday on the slate, Jeff. We talked about it this morning with Jason Sobel and Len Hochberg.
I went on a pod this morning, and I was booked for it to talk betting, and we ended up just talking about live for 30 minutes. Yeah. So we didn't. We talked. I gave one bet out at the end, and it was just Tommy Fleetwood to win. So probably don't need to hear that again from me. But yeah, man. I mean, obviously, lots going on in the golf world. And the funny thing is, like, it's just kind of the perfect storm. We got the major next week where all these guys are going to be together. And then also the NHL finals and the NBA are like taking these 3-day long vacations between games. So there's nothing else going on. There's nothing else to talk about. Like, all the football analysts and the football, like, the news people are getting in on this. Like, everyone's talking about it. So it's crazy. It's definitely the talk of the sporting world right now.
I want to get into a little more with you than we did this morning, but what you think about Rory McIlroy? Len was very high on the way he conducted himself this morning. I just thought it was interesting, some of his comments. I still hate Liv, but he believes the merger is positive, but he can't help feeling like he's a sacrificial lamb.
It's really his words are interesting because when he says I still hate Liv, I still hate the golfers who went and took that money and went over to Liv. That's what he's saying. And I think his words make sense when you really sit down and think about it, because those golfers who went over there, they're going to come back. They're going to be strutting around. They're going to say, I told you so. But they're really just they were really just pawns used by the PIF fund, the Saudi PIF fund, to gain leverage over the PGA and make the PGA spend more money and put the PGA in a precarious spot where they then had to deal with the PIF fund and make this deal and give the Saudi PIF fund a place at the table. Those players, I understand why Rory hates, because they all just gave up their loyalty for the buck right off the bat. And yes, you can say, well, everyone's going to be getting paid from the PIF fund now, Jeff, but those players who stayed, the PIF fund came to them. Like they didn't choose to go. They're just stuck with it. They have no control anymore. The players in the PGA have no control over anything. If they want to play golf, this is their only outlet. That's it. You can say, oh, well, they could quit golf. No one's going to do that. No one's going to spend all their life and then just quit. This is it. So when Rory says he hates Liv, he hates the players who went, and I agree with him. He's got good reason to, but he like you said, I think he handled it well too. He could hoot and holler all he wants. It's not going to change anything. There's no stance to be had anymore. This is done. So I think it just shows maturity on Rory McIlroy's part to sit there and say, okay, it's terrible. It's not what we wanted, but it's time to move on.
Okay. Yeah. And I tweeted earlier, and we've discussed it quite a bit over the past day and a half, but like, if there is a loser, in my opinion, in this PGA Tour Liv merger, it is the guys who have remained loyal and the guys who were really persuaded not to leave the tour for like the vast riches of the PIF backed golf league. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just can't, but I think I saw, and I don't know if it was real, saw a headline. I'm a big, just read a headline guy. I'm not going to read the story, but I saw a headline that said like guys like Tiger and Rory and a few others will be taken care of by the tour. I think Jay Monahan may have said that today in an interview, which I heard he completely effed up an interview on Golf Channel trying to explain his 9/11 comments from a year ago, like this week. Just a really bad look for him right now.
I hope that everybody else is getting taken care of too. Like I get it, those are the big names, but like for all these other guys who had if they had an opportunity, like I hope those guys kept those receipts, because if they had an opportunity to go over and then they didn't, they deserve to be taken care of just as much as Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods does.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Nick. And that's been part of the conversation since this news broke yesterday morning around 10 o'clock and some of the rumored numbers were ridiculous. Like, and you see the report now this afternoon, Jeff, was that John Rahm was in deep discussions, those discussions with Liv are moving along. And that may have played a role in the tour going pedal to the floor here and getting this thing done as soon as possible. They could not have afforded to lose him. That would have been insane. I don't know. John Rahm would have been the name for me where I'd have been like, oh, damn, Liv can get anybody they want. Anybody they want now.
Yeah, no, that I don't disagree, really. I mean, John Rahm going probably would have signaled the end of this.
Yep.
It really would have made, in a lot of ways, it would have made the PGA Tour kind of like the second tier. I mean, in some respects. I mean, maybe not second tier, but certainly like 1A, 1A, kind of thing. Yep. Even with Liv's funky and bad coverage, you can't argue the field strength at that point. But anyways, I think, and I think that Liv also probably, even just them getting John Rahm, probably said, okay, well, now that we're almost about to sign this guy, maybe it makes more sense to go and make a deal, because rather than give John Rahm $500 million and still have no place at the PGA table, let's see if we can parlay this Rahm potential signing into getting a deal done with the PGA. And I'm kind of in agreement with you. Maybe that is what happened. Maybe that is what finally broke the back here. So just a lot of things happening at once. I don't know, man. It's you know what, at this point, I don't want to say I'm done talking about it because we can talk. There's going to be more details coming out, but I've definitely accepted the fact that this is happening, and I'm interested to see how it works out and how the details come about. How do they invigorate? How do they insert these Live guys back onto tour? Does Live actually stay alive for a couple more seasons? I don't think it's going to. I think that makes no sense.
Greg Norman says it's not going away. It's funny because
Greg Norman is the last person.
I know. But it's funny because that rivalry, that Norman-Rory rivalry is clearly still there because Rory's like, I hate this thing. Yeah. I want it to go away. Norman comes out this afternoon. Oh, it's not going away. Oh, we're sticking around.
That's why I think that's one of the things where the PGA players say, okay, you screwed us. You got to give us something. Get rid of this. And I mean, the other thing is, how is this fund, the Live Tour is not profitable. It's never going to be profitable on the CW in these random locations that get no coverage.
They stopped releasing their ratings. They were so bad.
Yeah. The PIF fund now, why would they even care? They got what they wanted. I don't think Live.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. And I think, maybe they have a shortened schedule next year or something, or maybe they keep, I don't know. But we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I think big picture, I think PGA Tour was hemorrhaging money a little bit, maybe giving out a little too much, and they were pulling in, all the increases of these purses and all that stuff. Although, there are the reports that they got a back room with like $1 bajillion in it, and they weren't sharing it with the players when they could have been before. Anywho, Tiger was offered what? Reportedly 800, 900 million. Rory Hideki around 400 million. Rahm 300 million. JT Spieth around 150 million. Zalatoris around 100 million. You got to think guys like Scotty, Finau, Xander, Cantlay got some hefty offers as well. We'll see who gets taken care of. Rory this week, though, is going for the three-peat. Nick Fryer, I've enjoyed your presence on this show since you have made this trio complete again, and I've enjoyed your creativity with some of your golf bets. You say you have 2 of them this week for the Canadian Open. Can I get one of them, please?
I just got to say, I am so upset that I didn't go with Victor Hovland last week because I was looking at him as one
Jeff
of my
nailed it, and so did Sobel.
Yes, Jeff did. So hats off to you, Jeff. I did follow.
He won't nail it this week because he's backing Fleetwood.
That is very true. But I do want to say, where Victor Hovland got all this hype for caddying, after he won and everything, I just want everybody to know that I went and caddied for my father in a tournament. I didn't get any hype whatsoever. I'm just telling you guys right now. That's it. No one else needs to know.
If I would have known it, dude, I would have tweeted about it. I would have written about it.
I know you would have, but that's not why I do it. I do it for the goodness, the goodness of my father, and I love him very dearly. Okay, now,
just get to the picks.
Anyways, okay, Jeff. Anyways, so let's see. I got 2 guys who I'm looking at for top 20 plays, one possibly top 40, looking at the money. But in Jeff's cheat sheet that you can find over on DK Nation, he was talking about how there's a few shorter par 4s, putting and approach is going to be amplified more than normal. And the other thing is, too, recent form doesn't necessarily matter. And that's kind of why I was leaning towards these 2 guys, because they don't have particularly great recent form, but they are good putters. First guy is Maverick McNeely, who I haven't gone with in quite some time. Top 20 finish, that would put him, his odds for that are plus 230 over on DraftKings Sportsbook. And you look at his putting, even though he's, I know he missed quite a bit of time throughout the course of the season and everything, but he's still one of the best putters in the game right now. I know when it comes to approach, Jeff, he's not all that great, but this is a guy when you're talking about getting, a fly or somebody who can, squeak into that top 20. He was right on my radar just because of how important putting is going to be this week, more so than normal, of course.
Good forward. What do you think?
I actually don't hate that call. McNeely is I actually kind of like McNeely's upside, even to play him a little bit higher. Top 20 is fine, but you may even look top 10. He's been injured a little bit and he hasn't played well, but at the same time, he ended Colonial with a pretty good round. His ball striking usually isn't as terrible as it's been, and you mentioned the putting upside, so we've seen him compete. We've seen him land a bunch of top 10s. No, I actually like that call.
Okay,
plus 230, top 20. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I think that's a player who, like Fryer said, he's got whenever you're targeting someone to do well in an event like this, you want them to be really good at something. Yeah. Maverick McNeely is maybe the best putter in this field, top 5 for sure. So yeah, his irons aren't that good right now, but if the irons take a step up, we know that putter can save us and really get us over the hump. So I think he does make sense as a higher placement bet this week.
Well, hold on. I thought I just had a number of like McNeely. Has he not finished
No,
better
he's
than
like I said, he's been in
struggled.
poor form, and he actually was dealing with a bit of injury issues, but he
yeah,
did
like
get
a
it
shoulder
together.
injury, wasn't it?
Mhm.
I thought
He did
I
get it
thought was
together on the
shoulder.
weekend at Colonial,
Okay.
and that's what I kind of like. And he didn't play last week either, so
Mm.
well rested, coming off a couple good rounds. It's not what I'd call the greatest betting number. Like I wish he was closer to plus 300 for top 20, but at the same time, you know, Maverick McNeely, everyone knows him. Like you're never really going to get that good a number on him, like in terms of value. So if you like him at this course, I would just take it. And I do kind of like him. Like admittedly, I found a plus 10,000 or plus 10,000 number outright on him. I sprinkled a little bit because I do think he's got that kind of upside with the putter that he could potentially just really surprise and what is going to be, I think, a wide open event. So
yeah, hasn't finished better than 36 in any of his past 7 starts. It's okay though. It's okay. He's always going to be an elite putter.
Right, but then when Jeff, you're talking about Rory and Emerson bring up the three-peat, like didn't he not make the cut in the tournament before winning last year, Jeff? And then the year before that, he finished something like 19th or something.
So in 2019, he came to the Canadian Open off a miscut and won. Last year, he was like top 20. But yeah, I mean, the point is like one miscut, not a big deal. And certainly, I just feel like the guys who played last week are going to be a little tired too. I mean, that was a tough course. That was like the PGA Championship. So
it's that rough, man.
Yeah. that was like Oak Hill. Like that was very similar. I mean, in terms of what it took out of the players. So I kind of like targeting some of these players back in the odds. Doug Gim is another player I think for top 20 you could look at, and he was my top 20 pick. A little bit better odds, plus 360. But he didn't play last week. He's got a really, really good approach game. It's kind of the opposite of McNeely. He's very good ball striker. His last start, he was great ball striking off the tee and on approach, but his putter kind of comes and goes. What I like about him is he's been good around the green lately. And if he can just not screw up there, he'll have a really good chance at landing a top 20, or at the very least being in the mix for a top 20 on Sunday. He's been playing pretty well late.
All right, Jeff, why do you believe this week is the week that Tommy Fleetwood breaks through?
I need to hear this too.
Yeah, I absolutely need to hear this once again.
It's not even that I like, look, guys, we're betting. It's not like I'm sitting out here and be like, oh, this is it. Tommy Fleetwood, 100% luck. It's just a betting number thing. You know, when we're looking at the board this week, our options are pretty limited at the top. I don't even think this is a week where you necessarily have to bet anyone at the top. I know that there's people that I follow and respect and you know, do the golf betting thing, and they're just doing a bunch of like, you know, 50, 60, 100 to 1 plays. And I almost consider that, but you know, you look at the top, there's really 2 players I like, and it's Cameron Young and Tommy Fleetwood. Fleetwood's played better than Cameron Young. He had the one missed cut, but the ball striking's been really good all season. He's played well at technical tracks like Hilton Head, Sawgrass, Copperhead, and his number's 20 to 1. He's bigger than Justin Rose, Young, Fitzy. I would rather take another shot with Tommy Fleetwood here, who's coming off, like I said, didn't play last week. I like that about him too. And just take a shot with him. So it's not necessarily like a huge value thing or anything like that. It's just when you're looking at the top of the board, he makes a lot of sense to me. And I also like the fact that Tommy saw what was going on, saw that there was a players meeting. He just went and played golf instead of going to that meeting.
Dude, I absolutely love that. What a flex.
Focus on the task at hand and not worry about this nonsense. So kind of the attitude I think you need this week.
Fryer, what's your second play?
So it's kind of going along the same lines where I have my logic with Maverick McNeely too, but a little bit more in the area of where Jeff was hoping for in the for top 20 finish. Aaron Wise at plus 320.
That's interesting.
And again, similar kind of logic with his putter. He is also at even money to finish in the top 42. So I mean, if I feel like, again, we're talking about ladder betting. I've been trying to do that a little bit more when we're talking about golf. But I think that this is an instance where, you know, you play him a little bit more at top 40 and then see if you can get a little sprinkling in at top 20. Because again, Jeff, with the putter, if you can get, you talk about a guy being elite at, I think he's top 15. I didn't jot that down, but he's up there in terms of strokes gained putting among the field.
A wise play, Joe?
So Aaron Wise is either the wisest play on the board this week or it's a complete disaster. There's really no in between. He obviously took some time off. He skipped the Masters because of I mean, this is his words, not mine. He was having, he was like, fatigue, mental issues. Yep. He basically took a mental wellness break from the tour for about a month and a half. And he's come back now. I think this is going to be his third event since he came back from the break. He was T50 at the Byron, missed the cut badly at the PGA Championship. That's not really a shock. The PGA Championship was a terrible, his second event back, hasn't played that much golf. My worry is he's gone 4 events in a row and he's lost over 4 strokes on approach.
Yeah,
in each of those starts.
I'm looking at here, Jeff. The strongest showing this year is the Honda Classic. So he finished in 29th place then.
It's from a talent perspective, Aaron Wise is better than most of the players above him in the odds this week. He's not better than Sam Burns or anything, or even Corey Connors, but he's certainly he should be up there with Hadwin, Eric Cole, Michael Kim. So from that perspective, getting Aaron Wise at plus 320 for a top 20, it's kind of like what you just call a good time to try and buy early on him. But you do need to understand what you're getting in on here. This is a player who's only played twice over basically the last 3 months. He has not looked good in any of those starts. And we don't really know what to expect. So there's a lot of unknowns there. It doesn't mean that he can't, again, he's not good. I'm not taking the shot. I don't feel like I need to take the shot there because I've got guys like Doug Gim around the same odds, even Brandon Wu at plus 320. I think I'd rather just take a shot with those players. Carson Young at plus 330 is another player down there in that range. These are all players from DFS I like too, but Aaron Wise at plus 320. It's interesting. I'm really interested to see what he does because eventually he is going to pull out of this, but I don't necessarily know if I'd want to take the risk and go on him this week just because there's other players around him that I feel like are playing well. We don't need to guess about. So,
okay.
Well,
interesting name you picked out though. It's very much boom or bust kind of,
So maybe top 40 is the better way to go then.
No, I think that Aaron Wise, from a talent standpoint, you should be taking him top 20 or even top 10 because.
No, but that's fair what you're bringing up.
If he plays even remotely to his talent level, if he plays at 90%, like I said, he's the best player in this range by far. It's not even really that close. Maybe you could say it's a little close with some of these guys. There's good players in this range, but Aaron Wise is a very, very good player. And I said, normally, if he was just coming in, normal season for him, he would probably be around Sahith Theegala, Matt Kuchar. He'd probably be plus 150. So I guess that's the argument that he's a really good value. But boy, the recent form, it's more of just for me. I'd rather just wait and see it and take a little bit worse number in his next go around, I guess.
All right, gentlemen, we got to wrap. I did use a $5 bonus bet today on Sahith Theegala outright.
Nice.
I love me some Theegala.
I know, dude. I'm feeling it this week. I'm feeling it. I am on a cold stretch, but I'm feeling it.
I won't be sad if he wins.
That's why I like you. Hell yeah, brother. Jeff, good stuff. Nick Fryer. Sorry we didn't get into any NBA Game 3 Finals odds. That's all on the Sweat timeline and DraftKings timeline and your timeline on Twitter. So everyone go find it. We had tons of content this morning on the show. Thank you, TP, on the ones and twos. Thank you, producer Eamon, for all of your help as well. We will see everybody for a Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you.